my name is Johan Frid. I am representing the K-Center CLARIN-MULTISENS, which is based at Lund University, more specifically at Lund University Humanities Lab. And I will talk a little about that, and then I will give some examples simply of some projects that deal with speech and writing, and if I have the time, maybe something else at the end of that. But let's start. So let's just put this up there. So I'm based at the Lund University Humanities Lab, and we are also part of what is now Språkbanken CLARIN, which is the Swedish branch of CLARIN, previously known as SVE CLARIN or SWE CLARIN. Both terms are usable, I think, still. Yeah, we have different funders. The Swedish Research Council is our biggest funder, but also Lund University, of course, and some other. And we are also part of, with the CLARIN, of course, under the EU umbrella. Yes, and we're the K-Center on CLARIN-MULTISENS, which is multimodal and sensor-based methods, and that has to do with that we're based at the Humanities Lab, which has these facilities. We're also a C-Center, I can mention that. So we actually have an archive server, which doesn't look very exciting, but you can actually put your research data there and archive it, and that's harvested by CLARIN and gets to the VLO and all that. So again, this is actually a slide from the slide deck. So we are based at, as I said, Lund University Humanities Lab, and our aim is, as it says there, to provide advice, support, and partnership related to these methods. And we have lots of facilities that people can use for eye tracking, articulography, virtual reality, motion capture, language-related data, things, and also language. We also have the ability to do language technology. And we target basically everyone working on researching with human behavior, communication, cognition, and culture. So the Lund University Humanities Lab is a core facility at Lund University, which means it's actually open for all faculties, not just SSH faculties. This is just our YouTube page, which I show. There are some examples there of some videos of other stuff. I will not be talking a lot about that, but as you can see, there is lots of variety in what we do. There is human-cat communication, for instance. There is something on eye tracking. There are different method development things, and how can we explore language in the rainforest. So there are lots of diverse things available there. And we also have, it was nice that you talked about the impact stories. We actually have the most recent one right now. So we have a project where a theater contacted us, and they wanted to do theater for the hard of hearing, so sign language theater. And we developed a workflow for them where you could actually, this avatar that you can see in the movie, you could control that in real time, and then you could make a theater. And the thing is that the avatar can do sign language, so it was actually theater for sign language people. So but that's now an impact story, so you can read all about that on that page. So let's start with some of the things that we do. I was thinking a little about what to talk about, but this is a project that has been going on for a while, where we use, the classic multimodal in the classic sense, sort of the speech and video. So this was or is a collaboration with Gilbert Ambrositis at Växjö, David House at KTH, and which also has a CLARIN Center, a K-Center, CLARIN Speech. So here we are very interested in something called prominence So this can be both prominence of speech, but also prominence in video. So when gestures and things like that accompany and also help to give prominence to different things that we talk about. So this was a sentence in Swedish, which is nice. So it's basically an example here. So what it says here, if you buy something early, then it's like you buy a thing that doesn't work. So prominence here on different words, buy, early, work. And you can do that with voice, but you can also sort of do it with gestures. So you can do it with head movements or eyebrow movements, or you can do it with your hands or something. So multimodal production on multimodal prominence. How do prosody and gesture work together to signal prominence? I'm going to skip that. So we have a data set with video data from it's 130 readings from the Swedish National Television. 1,800 words, something like that. And it's 5 news. I'm just going to play a small piece of this because this is in Swedish, but just to give you an example of what it looks like. So now sound.
Hej och välkomna till Rapport. På 10 år så har anmälningar om bedrägeri och förfalskningar ökat med 200%. Men polisen har svårt att reda upp de komplicerade brotten.
Det är en... Okay. Some lovely Swedish there for you. Maybe you could make out that some things were prominent. And and she also moved her head and things like that to give prominence to some things. So first we made annotations, sort of expert annotations, and we annotated then the audio prominence, which with something that we call, we have a working term for these big accents, and this have different names. This can be focal accents, narrow, focus, sentence accent, but it's a mess actually, so we just call them big accents. So we annotated that in the speech signal, and then we also, from the video signal, we annotated head beats, as we say it, when she moves her head, when the news reporters move their heads, and eyebrow beats. And just to quickly go to the results of that, you can see we then did a comparison with the F0 movement. That F0 is the pitch, the melody of speech, because that is associated with the auditory prominence. And there was a sort of correlation between these different things, and it actually seemed to be an increasing. So BA is the big accent, BA plus HB is big accent plus headbeat, and big accent, headbeat, eyebrow. And there was a sort of a rising it was a cumulative relation between the number of gestures then and the phonetic realization, which here was measured by as an F0 movement. So that was nice that we had something like that. And then we went on to do a crowdsourced ratings. So it was a web-based rating tasks. So people watched these clips as you just saw, and then they could rate the prominence. And the task was quite simple. It was just to rate it on a 3-point scale. And we had quite a lot of raters, 130, so that resulted in about 25 ratings per clip and also per word. This is basically what it looked like. So web-based task, 3-point scale, manifested by color changing these buttons that appeared with each word under it. So you just clicked on that, and yellow is then prominence 1 and red is prominence 2, and if not clicked, it's not. So we had these ratings from these clips. And the results then looked something like this. So here we have a sentence, and then we had the mean, the average response for each prominence rating here. So it goes, this goes from 0 to 1.2. So, I mean, since it's averages, we don't really get 2 as a prominence. And then you can also see that, so here we have, now it's a pitch accent instead of big accent. Okay, so, but this is actually the phonetic realization then. And then, head. And okay, so this is head with HD and eyebrows with EB. And you can also see that we have something like that. So we have the most prominent is basically with a pitch accent, but then that head beats and eyebrows can somehow add to it. So we have a quite nice result here that the head beats and the eyebrow mounts and pitch accents correlate with the impression of prominence from these raters. So here is basically the same, but in a more wrong way. So the pitch accent here, and then head movements seem to raise it a little. Eyebrow movements maybe not that much, but you have a nice correlation here. So both between F0 rise, melody pitch rises, and also with the average ratings that we have. So now we wanted to do something else with that, and that has to do something with automatic speech recognition. Some of you has probably used Whisper and things like that to do automatic speech recognition to get transcriptions of text, and it works. I mean, it works quite well. I think you get nice transcriptions most of the times. Well, some domains can be tricky. But what you don't get is that you don't really get prosody. You don't get annotation of pitch accents or boundary accents, or which words are stress or which words are prominent in a text. And so we were thinking, can we maybe use this data that we already have, these annotations or ratings that we have, to train a system? There are, of course, plenty of use for that, tools for linguistics to get sort of automated annotation to enrich material. It can possibly also provide some training material for, if you have added prosody annotation, that can improve training material for speech synthesis. It can possibly also be used for things like pronunciation training, giving feedback to speakers to get an idea of what they talk about, where they put their prominence. So we had, I repeat this, so we basically had this task and we got these prominence ratings, and I think since we have so many raters per sentence, they are quite reliable. And if we reformat that, we can actually produce a table like this. So we simply have the start point in each utterance, the end point, and then we have the word, and then we have the rating. And for you, if you have ever worked with machine learning and things like that, you can see that this table is actually quite nice to work with. So what we can do here is that we can simply put in the audio files and use the start and end point of each word, and then try to train a system and use the prediction, the prominence prediction here as the target. So these are some details about the training that we did. The most important thing here is that we tried leave one speaker out. So we had 5 speakers. So we basically trained on 4 of the speakers and then tested on the last one, and then we repeated that all the way around. We tried 2 different models. These are available from Hugging Face and things like that. So this is a sort of a base model, Word2Vec. It's called. It's very general purpose, and it's basically trained on English. But there actually is a Swedish version of that, which we also tried. And then some different configurations, but I'm not going to go into detail about that. The results we got, I mean, these are nice numbers, but it's probably doesn't say so much. But the nice thing we get here, as you can say, the highest correlation we get between predicted and actual correlation is approaching 0.8, which, I mean, it's actually quite good. And we also got higher correlation when we based it on the VoxRex model than on the Word2Vec. That's not so surprising because it's this model knows something about Swedish already. These numbers are not, I mean, what do they say? But it's perhaps better to show what it can look like. So here we have in the blue curves are the human raters. This is the same data as you saw, but in the bars before. And then the red one is the model, the predictions that the model has made, and they match up quite nice, I think. So we are quite happy with these results. And as I said, these are out of speaker predictions. So there is the red line is not based; it's just a prediction from an unseen speaker, so to say, which I think is good for this kind of task. So that is something that we are going to test more, but we're quite happy with this development. There are some related studies. They actually used a little different. So we're not predicting prominence class. We predict a continuous value. And there was a study by Al-Mubayed and Vescoms for Swedish that they only used 2 classes. They only used 1 speaker, so they trained and tested on the same speaker. They actually got quite a good result for that, but that was only 2 classes, so basically prominent or non-prominent. And they did another study with 3 classes, so something similar to our study, and reached something like 72% correct on that. So I think and these studies are quite old actually, so it's not so surprising that we can improve on that. When I prepared this, I also maybe I misinterpreted the content a little because, but it's interesting to try to test if large language models can do something like this. So we have experimented a little with trying to get them to do prominence prediction. And this is also something called maybe zero-shot analysis or something like that. So we simply give a large language model a JSON file with, not with the speech, but as it says here, with the timestamped transcription and also a numeric representation of the F0. So we don't really give it the speech. We just give it the words and the F0 information. And this is quite... we have only tested this informally on something called the Ivy corpus, which is nice because it already has labels for different... and you ask it to produce a text grid as output. And it's nice that you can actually ask these models both with... you can ask it with structured input and you can get structured output back. And this is actually what we get. And I have to explain this a little. First of all, this is the Ivy transcription, which is down here. And we didn't really ask it for these %. These are boundary tones. So it's not so that the language model didn't give that. And then there is some matching here at least. So here it seems to okay, sorry, this is ChatGPT and this is Gemini. So we just simply prompted and asked for that, and was only what we put in there, and it's a bit different results. So there's some things here and some things here, and at the end it seems to be quite similar actually. So it's just an idea of what you can do with large language models these days. We actually took this a step. Well, you can actually get something like this. You can ask it for a motivation for each contour. We also tried this on on gestures, and so maybe in this case you should call them not large language model but large multimodal models, so LMMs instead of LLMs. So we basically did something similar. We so analyze here. I just put in a video here. So analyze the provided video and generate a structured JSON output and describe any events detected and focus on gestures. And I have only tested this also on some YouTube videos. I'm not going to play these because I don't know where we stand on different sides. This is just a screenshot of what you can get. So you can actually get something here like a timestamp. So the woman brings her thumb and fingers together to indicate a small amount while saying a little bit one. Yeah, she actually does that, which is quite nice. And then we have this one. The woman holds both hands up near her face with fingers spread, shaking them slightly. So it's these models are actually these days quite good at getting these. I think this can be used at least to some extent to quickly, if you want, if you have like an hour-long video, you can quite quickly get to the interesting point, the points that you're interested in, so that you don't really have to thanks. Maybe you don't have to listen through all of it. Okay, so that was that. I'm going to quickly talk, because I'm running out of time, talk a little about writing. So we have this tool called ScriptLog, which is a tool for observing and analyzing the writing process. Keystroke logging is locally called. So it's a tool where you can capture all the keyboard inputs, and then you can replay everything and study everything in that. So it enables in-depth analysis of the writing process. And we can also combine that with eye tracking. So that's why we can call this multimodal method, because we have both the writing and the eye tracking in some ways. These are also collaborations with different people, both in Sweden, Victoria Johansson and also Wengelin, and some people in Antwerp, actually. Okay. So I'm just going to show a replay here. So you will see text appear here, and there will be a little red dot that actually shows. I can actually start playing it. So the red dot is actually a result of the eye tracking. So this is somebody writing here, somebody who has written this already, because this is a replay of what was recorded. So we see everything that was written, and we can see that the eyes here, the eye fixations, as you get those, they follow quite well. And that's the writer looked back, and there is some pausing and things like that. And I don't know if you see this, but up here we actually also get an analysis of what word the person looked at. So this is, for instance, used by a PhD student here, Kajsa Gullberg, and very nicely she was the PhD representative at the CLARIN conference in Vienna. She uses ScriptLog to collect data about lying, but also deception. She talked about her data collection at the student bazaar, and she has also done some other things with it. So, for instance, she has found that there is a difference between lying and not lying in writing. but it's not the same difference in speaking. If I have one more minute, I can also talk about this. It's similar. This is collaboration with Elke van Steenam in Leuven and Victoria Johnson, where we had collaborative writing. So we basically had these also script log, but we have two writers in the same document, and so they can. And we also had eye tracking in there. I'm just gonna quick.
We changed that.
So here they discuss this passage. They discuss what they are going to do with the two. The red and the green are the two writers. So they.
Yeah. Or with risk. What did you say? Did you change it now?
No, I didn't. Risk elevating.
Yeah, so,
yes,
so
that's better. That's what it should be.
So this is something called joint attention when they look at the same piece, and we also did some study with that and found out some things like, for instance, when two people work together in a document, there's always seems to be that so that one participant is consistently producing more keystrokes is perhaps the major finding. But I think, so I'm just gonna show these again on the Humanities Lab, and I think this sums up a little what we are doing and what can be done.
So as you can see, this is going to be a joint talk. So luckily Grzegorz could also join, who is the actual coordinator of the LLMs for SSH K-Center. So the title of our talk is When AI Becomes a Co-Researcher, Creative and Analytical Use Cases of LLMs in Social Sciences and Humanities. So first, I'm going to introduce the center. Then Grzegorz will say a few words about our Polish large language model. And then we'll discuss three use cases of LLMs applications in the SSH domain. So this is a brand new center, I can say, because it started this year. You can visit its webpage, and it's coordinated by CLARIN PL at Wrocław University of Science and Technology. However, this is a distributed center, so here you have the full list of partners. And I guess our idea is to coordinate efforts, to make LLMs more and more usable in the SSH research, to help our users. And we will demonstrate a couple of cases. So now I will give the floor to Grzegorz to say a few words about our FAM model.
All right, yes, thank you. So I would like to tell a few words about Polish large language model. So about 2 years ago, a group of professors from our university decided why not to build our own Polish LLM. It was just after ChatGPT became really popular. And why they decided to do this? Because it's very good to have know-how how to build such models. And it can be also very useful then to serve some applications of own models to the science. So we tried to do everything from the scratch, from the beginning, some from pre-training and to then fine-tuning different methods of alignment, and what was very important, model safeguarding, because the idea was that all those models will be open. So safeguarding is a really important part of this. Was a very important part of this project. So everything started with getting data in Polish language, but not only in Polish, also in English. We gathered about 147 billion tokens, and that's comparing to, for example, Meta, which gathered 14 trillion tokens. It's not so much, but it was all data we can get in official legal ways, because legality was also very important part of this project. And we trained different models, from smaller like 8 billion parameters models, bigger like 8 times 7 billion in the architecture mixture of experts. And our biggest model was 70 billion parameters model. And to give you the idea how difficult and time-consuming it was, pre-training of this 70 billion model took about 3 weeks using our 300H100 GPUs. Power of our infrastructure. So it was really something new, because starting this project, we really didn't know how much we could take time to pre-train such a big models. And so there was no place for many experiments. We started with the smaller models, and then we tried to pre-train the biggest one. And all her models, and together there are more than 100 different models, used different methods of alignment, for example, so instruction models. And so we have more than 100 different LLMs, and they are available on the Hugging Face. And what was really surprising for us, that the number of downloads was really huge. For example, only one of these models, like 12 billion instruct model, was downloaded last month more than 58,000 times, and together it was 100,000 of downloads of these models. And we have also the chat window of Plum, so every one can log in and use it. Also scientists can use this model. So that's why I'm presenting this, because now, considering our K-Centre LLMs for SSH, now we can serve different application of models, not only applications of big models like huge models like ChatGPT or Gemini or DeepSeek, but also we have our own model. And for example, if the experiments need to be done in a safe environment without giving the data to the external models, we can serve also such experiments. So this is important that these models are served on our environment, in our environment, and these data are not leaking outside. And next slide, please. Here on this map, you can see distribution of locations from which the queries were sent to our chat. As you can see, this map takes places all over the world, and what is surprising that we didn't spend even 1 penny for the advertisement. So this shows that if something is presented on a Hugging Face is open, so people who are interested in LLMs will try to use it. That's why there are so many queries. This year, because it was the first year of using these models. Previous year was the production year. So it was total 1.7 million queries in the first year of operation, which was really surprising for us that so many different organizations, different universities, and people are interested in trying this model. Next slide, please. And now we would like to present 3 case studies of LLM applications in SSH domain. And we've chosen, I think that rather interesting case studies in which LLMs are used in different ways. So there's not only just one, for example, thing like analyzing of topics or something like that, but this rather more complicated scientific process, and that's why we have chosen these 3 cases. And now I will present the first case, then Eva present second, and now then I will present the third case. So the first case is about using GPT models in debate preparation. So there was something quite new, because about 2 months ago, a linguistic professor from Jagiellonian University, it's a well-known university in Poland, the oldest one, contacted CLARIN, and he asked if he can get the support in his experiments with using GPT models in Oxford debate preparation. So it was quite, I think, unusual exercise for us. And which contexts and which objectives we had. So first was development and optimization of code. It was Python code for analyzing prompts and linking them to the arguments used during the debates. So the idea was that the people who are preparing to the Oxford debate were using ChatGPT to create some arguments, and then the debate session were recorded and transcribed using SR technology. And then the full dialogue with the generative model is also logged and analyzed. So we have the full ISR debate, the full debate in the wave format, and then we do the ISR to have the text, and we have also the previous dialogue with the chat with GPT model. And so we know which arguments, which question gave the the person who prepared to the Oxford debate, and we should connect these two things. So, which research problems we have? So, firstly, how to match arguments suggested by the GPT model with those which were actually used in the debate. And that's the first research question. The second one, how to trace a specific model-generated arguments in a self-transcribed debate text. Next slide, please. So, key research questions. First is argument utilization. So, to what extent were the argument proposed by the model used in live debate? You can assess it. Also, the argument effectiveness. So, how effective were these arguments which were suggested by the model to be used in the debate? And also, we can try to assess the preparation quality. So, and the quality of preparation of participants' preparation be assessed based on their dialogue with the generative model. And the potential outcomes, as I said, this experiment are now processed, so we don't have results yet. So potential outcomes, identification of argument adoption patterns, it's one potential outcome, and also development of metrics for evaluating argument strength. This is not so simple thing how to evaluate this strength of arguments which were created and how they were used, and also inside how generative models support structured debate preparation.
Okay. Now I'm going to present a use case which is actually our internal use case, because it's the work of my colleagues on the development of the so-called musical subword net, which is a kind of extra resource to PL WordNet. So they were first working completely manually on that musical subordinate, but then they decided why not use LLM for help. So they wanted to verify if what they've already created is really unique and necessary. So they tested some sample of units. So these were specialist terms, either specialist terms added to that musical subordinate or terms under a specialist meaning. So they developed a pretty long prompt, which you can see here, and pretty detailed. So they ask about the meaning of a given lemma, part of speech. What is it? What hypernym can it have? What can be a part of it? What it can consist of? Where does it come from? Then they also ask the LLM to use a given word in a sentence to provide its definition and to list things similar to the provided item. They actually discovered quite a lot of LLM limitations. So, which is, for me, it's not really surprising. And you have a number of them listed here. So, they were looking for those specialist meanings. So they did not get them, or not in all cases. They got the meaning they wanted. So that sort of shows that still manual work is needed, and that we need those specialist handcrafted resources. Well, but on the other hand, they also they use the LLM to extract items from that domain that were already present in PIL-AwareNet, so that to identify areas for further work where they can develop. They had clear suggestion to add more usage examples to the described units, also to expand the network of relations, so include not only mandatory ones like hyponymy and hypernymy, but also more detailed ones, and also to include industry-specific expressions, like marked expressions that are not necessarily terms. So in general, they found it like interesting exercise, so showing that on the one hand, we still need those manual handcrafted resources. On the other hand, we can reach to LLMs to help in our work. So now I pass to Grzegorz again. Sorry, I skipped this conclusion. So yeah, as I said, it can be used in the evaluation of lexical resources, especially during the building process. And yeah, we still need such resources. So I pass over to Grzegorz.
I will tell a few words because we're running out of time about the third case, interesting case. So a group of sociologists contacted CLARIN to provide the assistance in the implementation of the research, which is about the media discourse analysis on social class. So the social class is something not so simple to define. It changes in different decades. So it's talking about the social class is different in time, and how the LLMs support such large-scale critical discourse analysis. So we firstly helped to build the data set. It was a big data set concerning texts from 2004 to 2022. And these texts were articles from Polish well-known weekly magazines. And LLMs helped the cleaning and structuring articles. And then we use the LLMs to detect the critical discourse moments. So LLM-based clustering and time series topic variation to identify very important periods and of intensified debate about the social classes. And also we use LLMs to examine changes in class-related language over time, because, as I said, it changes. And also we use LLMs to topic and frame identification. So using LLMs to extract dominant topics tied to the class, like, for example, economic shocks, political events, changes of government, labor disputes, and such things. Next slide, please. We did with LLM such things like class representation patterns, so LLM classification of which social classes are most frequently mentioned. This was the quantitative analysis. Also emotion and sentiment analysis, so detecting the emotional tone which is associated with different classes, different media, and also cross-newspaper contrastive analysis, so comparing linguistic framing across various newspapers, because there were big difference between these newspapers. So we analyze the semantic similarity and stylistic profiling. Next slide. And the conclusions from this case study. Firstly, I would have to say that the earlier experiments which were done without using the LLMs delivered weak results. So simple contextual analysis, simple lexicon-based methods didn't give the enough good results. The use of LLMs enabled to more genuinely multi-dimensional analysis, covering topics, emotions, discursive strategies, and such things. And the main challenge that emerged was the precise validation of the LLM-generated results. As usually, the LLM-generated results is a problem how to evaluate it. And particularly in identifying social class references. And LLMs accelerated the initial coding and data exploration phases. It's what's done much faster, reducing the time needed to filter, categorize, review large volumes of text. And the models uncovered patterns and relationships that might remain unnoticed in traditional quantitative analysis, such as emotional differences between media outlets. As I said, there were different patterns in different media, and also changing narrative strategies across time. So, thank you.
Here is just a slide on our financing, right? So, thank you for your attention.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a brand new case center. It's a short CLARIN-Applied, or on this talk, how to do comparative discourse studies using corpus linguistics. We are from Switzerland, working on the Zurich University of Applied Sciences. So this is maybe the reason why the short form applied comes into the name of the case center. That's the outline for my talk. I thought it would be maybe make sense to start with a question: what is applied comparative discourse analysis? I think there are some similarities to what we heard at the talk before. Looking at media discourses, for example, and then we'll switch over to the needs and demands in the scientific community. So who needs support in comparative discourse analysis? And then we'll go over to the case center website and some surrounding supportive activities that push us as a case center, and then we'll have a look at the next steps. Well, what is applied comparative discourse analysis? Discourse analysis is doing research analysis of language use and knowledge. So this is the Foucauldian idea of discourse. So not talk, but the ideas of order of language use that makes sense and knowledge to a society. And discourse analysis normally uses qualitative and quantitative methods. And one of the problems is that if you're doing comparative discourse analysis, you almost only uses qualitative methods so far. And another problem is that the most analyses so far are limited to only one language or region or media type or time period. And that's not the idea of how discourse analysis can explain how discourse works. So we have to go to another space, and this is a space of global or transnational discourse context. And this is what comparative discourse analysis is trying to do. Every comparative analysis needs terms and comparationes, and this is what makes comparative discourse analysis so difficult. You need very abstract concepts like the concept of East. So is Poland in the East, or is Ukraine in the East, or is Germany in the East? Depends on the perspective. Or if you're interested in research on public service broadcasting in Europe. So the question is, what kind of idea do you have what a public service broadcasting is and what to do in a country? So what we do is we are not interested in comparing languages. So for example, the Polish language works in this way and the German language or French in this way. We are interested in discourses, but we need language in order to find out about the discourse. So the question is how we can do this by using corpus linguistics. And this is the question that rises up to the question of what is need and demand in the scientific community. And I thought it would be nice to start with an example. For example, you have the research question, what similarities but also differences exist in the discourse construction of public service broadcasting in European countries. So we have a discussion about public broadcasting in nearly every European country. And the question is, are they very similar to each other or are they very different? And this raises a couple of questions. For example, in a country like Germany, you have different terms to describe what is public service broadcast. And this depends on where you live on the country, because of the regional programs of the public service broadcasters. And you have also problems like in Switzerland, where you not only have the German language, but also French and Italian. So the question is, what kind of search words you will find if you want to compile a corpus which is about public service broadcasting in your country. And from this scenario, you can switch over to very methodological questions. So, for example, where does the discourse on public broadcasting take place? Is it take place in press or radio or in comments? And if you are searching for example, comments on news space in Ireland, you have to go to Facebook. You will find the comments there. And if you are interested in comments on newspapers in Switzerland, you have to go to the website of the newspaper. So you have to compare comments on Facebook with comments on newspapers websites. And this makes it very difficult, for example, to find out about what you're searching on in terms of comparative discourse studies. The question is, on what time are your interesting question is in, for example, are there discourse changing events? So it maybe make sense to compare data that are 5 years old with data that are currently crawled in a country, because they are different discourse changing events. And so yeah, we have to compare different data sets, and from the perspective of comparative analysis, it makes sense, but maybe not in terms of media linguistics, for example. Then the question of which languages or the subject, or maybe also the degree of standardization of data. So it may be the annotation of the data make it invisible the difference between two discourses. So to what extent makes the standardization of data is useful, and also the question of what tools and data is it can be used. For example, you have a perfect corpus and tools in Hungarian, and you will compare it to Poland, but you don't have perfect data in Poland, then you can't use these perfect Hungarian corpus. And this is the problem that people in the community are dealing with. And also a lot of practical questions. Should I buy data and go to Sketch Engine, or should I use the Carolyn Video, or should I use Literatura or the Längsbox, and so on? And we try to answer these questions in the community, and this is what the K-Center tries to solve and to support. So the priority we see is that we think we should support the community in creating discourse models before searching for corpora or compiling corpora. So the first question is, what do you really want to investigate? And if you are sure about that, then you can search for corpora and compile your own corpora. Then we support in transferring qualitative ideas or methods into quantitative. So, for example, very simple about keywords. What can we see from keywords if we're interested in, for example, an analysis of topics or metaphors or so on. And the third one, for the comparative analysis, it is maybe very useful not to only search for search words, but think in semantic spaces. So maybe n-gram embeddings would be very useful to find the perfect tertium comparationes. Well, this is our website right now. The K-Center is operated by the Digital Discourse Lab on my university. There are 3 professorships leading this lab, and there are 2 persons who are now in charge for the K-Center right now. It's Dolores and me. And in the background there are more people, but we are now persons who you can talk with if you have any questions concerning the K-Center. What we're trying to offer is expertise in best practices in comparative analysis, access to our Swiss AL, and AL is for Applied Linguistics platform, where you can find multilingual corpora, and also access to the documentation, learning material, and publications. The resources are by now the Swiss AL platform. I will show you how this looks like. You can find the platform via this link, and this is the landing page. And you see this platform is called Language Data Platform for Applied Sciences, because we think, and this is where shock comes in, that language data is not limited only to linguists, and that also linguistic tools are not only limited to linguists. So we tried to build a platform and also a workbench that also shock persons can work with. So we can use the Swiss AL platform also as a corpus workbench. You have, for example, on the left-hand side, a project, then you select a corpus, for example, French journalistic corpus, and then you can have, for example, pre-calculated topics or context of words. So, it's a quick overview of semantic space, which is word embeddings, but you see, we don't call it word embeddings, we call it semantic space, because we want to address also people that are not familiar with linguistics. And you can do it in 3 languages, in French, German, and Italian, and all data comes from Switzerland. When we have the documentation, you can find documentation on the tools and the corpora, and also our understanding of open research data. For example, you find our source types here. We have not only journalistic media, but also organizational. That means we are crawling websites from Switzerland and from very different actor groups in 3 languages. And also we have the parliamentary Swiss from Parliament, from a cantonal level, but also from the federal level, also in 3 languages. And on the documentation, we have also the examples in 3 languages, so also very useful to do comparative discourse analysis, we think. On the K-Centre website, we have some ongoing projects there, and we have also done 2 webinars so far on ORD and comparative discourse analysis, and also on first steps how to use CLARIN resources and digital tools for corpus linguistics in the context of comparative analysis. And we have done this in the middle of the year. We will go on next year in January. And we have an ongoing support for the Swiss Parliament data. We transform it into TSLY file with the request from Austria. And we are doing this by cooperation with opendata.ch, and we are also preparing the data for Parliament, because the Swiss data are missing there. Well, we have 2 supportive activities in the context of the K-Centre. The one is that we have an OFCAS project, and the second is the Network of Comparative Discourse Studies. I will start with the first one. The project by Stephanie Evert, then Violet Chahur from Warsaw, then the famous Christina Drisso from Switzerland, Goranka Rocco from Ferrara, and myself. And the idea is to make open research data suitable for comparative discourse analysis. So this is support for the K-Centre and also support for the community. The idea is behind this project is maybe a more political one, to promote the public sphere in Europe, to find out what the neighbors are talking about. For example, are the discussions on public broadcast service the same in Poland and in France or not? And this is maybe important for Europe to find a common voice. The second is to overcome maybe the growing gap between the non-commercial use of data and the big tech use data. I think we have to stronger here the research. And the third one is maybe the issue for CLARIN. We see that there's a big gap between the mostly qualitative working community of comparative discourse analysts and the community of open research data, and we try to build a bridge between the 2 communities. And we'll do this by sharing knowledge, community engagement and training, and also best practices and tool development. And well, we'll give our best with this OFCAS project. We'll also support the K-Centre and then also the CLARIN community. The second supportive activity is with networks. This network was founded by Violet Chahur and myself 2 years ago. We have now more than 60 members from more than 18 countries. And so you can become a member free of charge. And well, just to have one look at the website, we have a biography, and we think it's a nice feature, for example, that you can select the language investigation. So, for example, the first one, it's an article by Patricia von Münchow. It's written in French, but the studied language is French and German. And so you can look what kind of discourse analysis is done in your language, for example. And because we have this biography right now, we don't have to make a copy-paste in the K-Centre. I think it makes sense just to have a link and add to this publication list on this website. Well, the K-Center next step, and this is my last slide, we will do a dissemination to the member of the network that shown the slide before. We haven't done this yet. And put the link to the curated bibliography. We will publish the webinars 1 and 2 as learning material on the website, and we will plan to do a workshop in Sarajevo next year to generate learning material, so best practice to use corpora for comparative analysis. And we also plan a webinar with the K-Center Curatina in January or February next year. And it also is planned that we will have an exchange with the translation studies, for example, on the meaning of equivalent. So what does it mean in translation studies, and what does it mean, for example, in computer linguistics or in discourse analysis? And what we are planning to do is a special issue in the Journal of Corpora and Discourse Studies. We have the okay by the editors that we can do this special issues on comparative discourse analysis, including a paper on the needs and the state of the arts by, for example, Stephanie Ewert, Julia Castro, myself, and a lot of other people who are involved in this group. So this is my overview on the K-Center CLARIN-Applied. Thank you.